Hello, my name is Bar Medina. I'm from Maracaibo, Venezuela. I'm part of the baseball team, Highland Community College, and I'm gonna do the movie review part 3 for my ethics class. So, the first thing that I'm gonna talk about is to summarize the plot of the film. The movie that I chose was 300. 300 is a 2007 action film directed by the famous Zack Snyder and produced by Gianni Nunari, Mark Kenton, Bernard Goldman, Jeffrey Silver, and Frank Miller. This movie took place somewhere on the late 5th century. The film tells the story of Spartan king Leonidas that instead of sending the offering of land and water to the Persian king Darius, showing that he was going to give up to the Persians, he decided to fight with only 300 brave men, not taking into account that the Congress did not support him going to fight. During this war, Leonidas' wife, called Giorgio, asked for support to the Congress and it was declined. Leonidas goes down in history by proving that he's not afraid of anything and that he will do everything possible to see his empire with freedom. The main ethical theory in the film that I would like to discuss is deontology. What makes an action right or wrong in this theory? Deontology, instead of focusing on consequences, focus on duties and obligations, things we ought to do regardless of the consequence. One way of describing this is to say that deontological theories emphasize the right over the good, which means that deontology focuses on right actions and right intentions while downplaying the goods or benefits by these actions. The ethical conflict in the film that I want to discuss is that Leonidas had everything he could ask for, being a king of Sparta, have a beautiful wife, a good kid, and many men who were trying from a very young age to be the best warriors of Greece. He's asked to show mercy to Jews, something that his ethics would not let him do, and instead he decides to go fight for his rights in a battle where things do not look in his favor at all. The three scenes that I would like to use for this discussion is when Leonidas rejects the, ris- the request for land and water, when Leonidas goes out into battle knowing he will probably will not come back, and when Leonidas sent one of his men back to Sparta so he can tell the story of what really happened with all of them. Now I'm gonna talk about the three different scenes that I choose from the movie 300. The first scene was when Leonidas rejects the request for land and water. Who or what was impacted by the action of this scene? The Persian king Darius, the guy who went to us for land and water, and all the people from Sparta. Now I'm going to explain the action viewed through the lens of my chosen ethical theory, that is deontology. Agreeing to surrender against the king Darius in part of Persia and giving the offering of sand and water sounds reasonable to any small city like Sparta, but no. This is a deontological problem, so I will explain why Leonidas did not want to accept this deal at all. Leonidas did not agree to give the offering of land and water because his pride as the king of Sparta and being a Spartan warrior was too big to surrender to another king. Leonidas did not really care about any of the consequences of his actions in order to maintain his pride. The second scene that I choose was when Leonidas goes out into battle knowing he he probably will not come back. The whole world was impacted by the action of this scene, the 300 Spartan warriors and their families, and the people they killed. Now I'm going to explain the action viewed through the lens of my chosen ethical theory. Leonidas goes out with 300 brave soldiers to defend his city from Darius, the king of Persia, and his thousands of soldiers, knowing that he will surely not return back. He even gives his necklace to his wife before he goes to battle. Based on the ontological ethics, this option for anyone would be wrong, but for Leonidas, it was possibly the only way not to show mercy and go out and fight for what belonged to him, knowing that the only way to get back to Sparta alive will be to surrender, and he would rather die trying to save his city. And the third scene that I choose was when Leonidas sent one of his men back to Sparta so he can tell the story of what really happened. Who or what was impacted by the actions of this scene? The soldier that was sent back to Sparta and his family. Now I'm going to explain the action viewed through the lens of my chosen ethical theory. Leonidas realized that there is no way out of battle alive and calls one of his best soldiers and asks him to return to Sparta so that the story of the 300 brave men who went out to defend their city will never be forgotten. This option is partly correct. Why? Because Leonidas put his pride aside a little bit and make the decision to send a soldier home, but at the same time, if we start from the point of view of ethics deontology, we can say that he preferred to stay and not think about the consequences on the family and society that would bring the death of him and the other 300 soldiers. To finish this video, I'm gonna say, how can I relate the film 300 back to real world lessons? Well, I can say that sometimes uh, when we're gonna take tough decisions in our lives, we we need to think about who's gonna fake that, what cannot be the consequence of what I'm about to do. Um, what lessons have I learned from watching and thinking about the film 300 from a critical perspective? The the same. Sometimes we we take decisions um, and we don't really think about what or who am I gonna affect with that decision. Um, I'm just thinking, we just think selfish in the moment, and we don't see the bigger picture. What can happen afterwards? Um, if this critical reflection inspired me to make change in my own life, yeah, a little bit. Makes me think a little bit more about big decisions that I need to take, thinking and trying to see the bigger picture.